Welcome to the lighter side of the dark side. It's your weekly freak show here on Renegade Radio and iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, wherever you're listening to us. It's the Dark Mark Show. I'm Dark Mark, the goth comedian, and my co-host, everybody's favorite vegan heavy metal DJ, Hannah Bach, will be joining us shortly. I think she just texted me, and no, somebody else texted me and wished me a Merry Christmas. But I have with me, she's a podcast host in her own right. Is the podcast called After Adults?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I got it right. Okay. After Adults. She is fascinating for many, many reasons, as you'll find out. But she's the comeback kid. Don't call it a comeback. She's been here for years. She rose to the heights of the adult film industry, took a hiatus, and now she's back, and she's nominated for several AVN awards, including, I don't want to get this incorrect, most epic ass, favorite female porn star, most spectacular boobs, and social media star.
You got them right.
Well, that's because I just went to the website and looked it up. Your website. Multi-AVN nominee and fascinating person for many other reasons, including powerlifting and all sorts of things. Siri Dahl.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No problem, Siri. I think I'm the only one that, because I don't watch a lot of porn. I jerk off to Lifetime movies, but
one does.
Yeah, well, some people do. That's what I do. But you were very popular, I guess, a long time ago. People were really enamored with you, and you stopped at the height. You were really rising. You were nominated for AVN Awards, and you stopped. You had your podcast, which is about after porn, and now you're back.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Last name and everything.
It's a wild ride. Yeah, I retired in right at the end. I mean, basically the very beginning of 2015. I didn't perform at all in the year 2015. I retired January that year. And then I just came back a year ago, January, officially. So I had what was originally going to be a permanent retirement that ended up just being a 5-year hiatus. But 5 years is a long time to be away from the porn industry, especially this particular stretch of 5 years. So much happened.
Right. And so was porn like the mafia? When you thought you were out, they pulled you back in?
It's I wish. But no, it's more like just the change. Everything's always changing, right? But like the different technology, like Pornhub's a very different structure now. You can actually monetize on Pornhub as a content creator, whereas you couldn't back in 2013. OnlyFans exists now, which it didn't exist when I retired. So those are just two big differences, just to name two. But things are quite different in good ways for the most part. So
yeah, I'm contemplating doing OnlyFans myself. There's gotta be enough with people that are so twisted they're into this. Maybe I could.
Oh yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it'll be 99.999% male, but hey, I'll take it.
Oh, it will be. Yeah, most men who are creating content on OnlyFans have probably mostly male subscribers as well.
Yeah, I've just I got the bear look, and so I think that's gonna appeal. But before we get started, and we're getting going already, but before we get started, I do have to talk about our sponsors really quick, and I'll do it as quickly as I can. Audible. If you go to audibletrial.com/DMS, you get a free book and access to just about every Audible original. Used to be you just get one book and one free Audible original. You get them all now. Kate McKinnon's got a thing. You got the Sandman. They did a whole reading of the Sandman comic book, a new story by Neil Gaiman. And as far as books, we have books from, lest you think this is going to be boring, we have books from our favorite porn stars. I don't know if you know Coral and Jewel.
The name actually rings a bell, but I don't do I know her personally? No.
She was on our show a couple months ago. Another fascinating story. She was a champion figure skater that became a porn star and now a swinger. And her book is now on Audible.
Nice.
It was called the Behind the Ice or something. But we'll put in Coral and Jewel. You'll see her book. And also, we also had, I know you know this, we had Sasha Grey on a few years ago. And she's got tons of books on Audible. as part of her erotic collection. So any of that, there's all sorts of there's everything from Shakespeare to smut. I know there's a lot of S&M books. There's a lot of you could definitely get your rocks off going Audible. Right?
You
the newest
definitely
bestsellers,
can.
whatever thing, everything from Shakespeare to smut, and it's free. Just go to audibletrial.com/DMS. Cancel the next day, you still keep the free audiobook. I'm actually reading or listening to Rob Halford from Judas Priest came out with an autobiography, so I'm listening to that.
Oh, cool.
That's actually really, really good, and I recommend that.
Nice.
Also, you're in Kentucky. I don't know how restrictive the COVID things are down there. Can you eat in a restaurant outside, or?
You can outside. It's a little cold, so it's not. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I tried it and it was incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mix. Like they just recently tightened restrictions a little bit more again. I feel like that's been happening across the country, but we still have some things that are open and kind of normal-ish feeling. Like I can go to the gym, which is nice.
That's good. That's
yeah.
Good. The gyms here in LA, it's a whole different thing, but
tell me about it.
Right now are just takeout and delivery only, but we have a restaurant sponsor here in LA. And next time you're in LA, if you're ever here for a shoot, go to Doomie's Home Cooking. DOOMIES. It's the best vegan food you ever had.
Ooh. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, yeah. I was there a couple months ago. I had the chicken cordon bleu sandwich. Delicious. Better than Popeye's chicken. Bigger and better than Popeye's chicken. They have pasta, chicken parmesan. The nachos, they have a whole separate Mexican restaurant next door. The nachos were on LA Weekly, listed them as one of the 10 best nachos in LA. The only one without meat.
Nice.
And they have shrimp. They have shrimp po' boys, chicken parmesan. They have anything you want. The Big Mac on the secret menu. Just great comfort vegan food. 1253 Vine Street on the corner of Fountain and Vine. Doomie's Home Cooking. And one more real quick, and then we'll get to our conversation. I need some, you're a power lifter, you're an athlete. I need some energy to keep up with you and everybody's favorite vegan heavy metal DJ. My favorite energy drink, Raze energy drink.
I love Raze.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Wait, how did you get? I need to get Raze to sponsor my podcast too.
I'll get you in touch with them. Raze.
No, I really do love it. Yeah, it's great.
See, you're a gym rat. You can only get this at like gyms or GNCs,
yeah.
Or if you go to the description, if you're listening to this on YouTube or on the podcast catchers, 15% off a case. That's why I just got this new flavor. Excellent. Phantom Freeze.
I love that you can hear the crisp.
Oh no, it's fresh and it's delicious. And the best part of it all, as you know, I don't think it's on this can, but 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 crash.
Lots of caffeine though.
Oh yeah.
But without the crash.
Without the crash, no. It's you drink that other stuff, you're sitting there a couple hours later like this. Go through your whole work day. You can get through an hour interview with Siri. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to last an hour.
Sure. If you're like me and your hours are ass backwards, you can just crack one open when you get to the gym at 10 p.m. because that's normal.
The graveyard gym shifts now?
I did last night. I was at the gym. Yeah, I think I was there. Well, no, I got there around like 9. Ended up leaving at like 11. It was a long time.
Wow. What did you do? Just
it was squat day.
Okay.
So I was
because you're nominated for most epic ass, and you got to keep
right. Yeah, exactly. I have a reputation
that's what they're angling
here.
You for, because every picture of you on the AVN nomination site is you from behind looking over your shoulder.
Oh, I did that. They had a different one. They actually had an old photo from 2013 that was like internally, I think AVN has like a database of performers and they just have like a random, like a photo assigned to each person. And they've had this old photo assigned to me forever. And I just I know someone who works there. So I just texted this person and was like, can you just have them change it to this photo? Cause I want to win the ass one the most and I need it to be a photo of my ass. And she was like, nice. On it. And it was immediately different. So very much by design.
Now, do you really care about the AVN Awards, or is it goof? I mean, it's not the Oscars, but it's right. I know that I've been to the ceremony in Las Vegas and the convention.
Right.
It's a lot of fun, but
it's so much fun. I'm so sad. I mean, I understand it's good that it's not happening in person this year, like all big gatherings and events, but I'm gonna miss it a lot, not having the social aspect of it this year.
and the gallons and gallons of free lube.
So much free lube. Oh my God. Tell me, seriously. It was so much fun last year. Yeah, like I care about the AVNs insofar as like, it feels really nice to be recognized by your peers. Whether that means just being nominated for something or actually winning something. The stuff I'm nominated for is actually all fan nominated, which is to me even cooler than being nominated by peers, because it means that like my fans have my back like hardcore. Which, you know, not that I've ever doubted that they did, but it's nice to have it confirmed. So yeah, I think the AVNs are a cool event. I've been nominated for several AVN awards over the years. Nothing since I returned, because I like kind of just came back and then COVID happened, so things were like shut down most of the year. But I haven't won an award yet, so it'd be cool to win one.
Oh, okay. So you're the bridesmaid but never a bride.
Yeah, you know, like the I was gonna say the Leonardo DiCaprio of porn, but I don't feel that's not a fair comparison.
Well, it could be, yeah. You've been nominated. You don't want to be the Glenn Close of porn, because I don't think they're ever going to give her one.
Oh, I know, poor Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Angela White is the Meryl Streep of porn.
I was going to say, she's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference? Seriously, what is the difference between Best Actress and Favorite Female Performer?
Oh, favorite female performer is like an overall, like I'm not sure exactly what their specific criteria is for how they choose the winner of that, like the panels that AVN has that ultimately decide the winners for those. But I've always thought of female performer of the year as being like the person who overall had the most impact as a performer that year. And I mean, of course, like sales are going to figure into that, you know, like right. How well did that person's titles perform over the course of the year? Whereas the Best Actress is literally like acting in a role that requires some acting chops.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you saying your acting is not up to par?
No, I'm just saying that's the difference between those categories. I've never been nominated for Best Actress.
That's what I'm saying.
At AVN. Well, it's not that I think I could actually probably have a chance at getting a nom for that if I had ever been in a film that would ever get like I've only been in like one feature ever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's all scenes.
Yeah. I haven't actually had, which sucks because I'm like totally a theater nerd and I like acting and like memorizing lines.
Right.
But it's like there are a few companies that even produce feature length scripted porns in the first place. And then when they are being produced, there's usually only one female lead or like maybe a few side characters. So like there's much fewer opportunities to get cast in those roles.
Well, there's no DVDs anymore.
Hopefully one day.
Well,
what was that?
No DVDs anymore. It's all streaming.
Yes. Yeah. I think of like Adult Time nowadays when I think of feature, because they're probably the biggest company that's still producing like quality scripted scenes.
Okay. Well, let's go back, because I was trying to find older pictures of you. It's hard to find.
You have to Google Siri porn star like all as one word.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because you were just Siri.
Mm-hmm.
Madonna, Prince, Cher, you're just Siri. And this predates Apple Siri.
By a few months. It was like really overlapped, but I didn't choose my stage name because of Apple. Like I actually picked Siri in like June or July 2011 before I actually started filming porn scenes. I was like, well, I'm gonna like make a Twitter account, like buy a domain name and all this stuff. So I did all that this summer before I actually got with my first agent in porn. And of course, I think it was like September or something of 2011, just a couple months later, that Apple announced that first phone that had Siri on it. And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
I think
weird coincidence.
Steve Jobs is ripping you off. I think he knew something. Steve John. Yeah, I don't know. No, here, no,
Old
of course,
Steve.
Siri means a beautiful victory in Norse Viking
Hmm.
land. But you were planning your porn career for 2 years?
No, I wasn't planning it for. Well, I shot my first scene in like February 2012, so it was really
Okay.
like 6 months ahead of time that I had like knew. I was like, okay, I'm gonna move to LA in January and then figure out my shit, get an agent, and start shooting. But I mean, I started planning that was what I wanted to do in the summer of 2011.
Okay, and you were in. Now, where are you from? That's another mystery.
Well, I am originally from Minnesota. That's where I was born, and I lived there for like half my life, and then I kind of came of age. High school and everything was in Texas, in North Texas, near Fort Worth.
I detected a Midwestern sort of thing about you. I was going to get. If I
Yeah.
had to guess, I would have guessed Minnesota, but I guess Texas was more formative for you.
Yeah, it was. It's kind of weird. I still think of Minnesota being like my home state though, just because I definitely feel like I'm a little more of a Midwestern girl at heart than a Southern girl. But that's kind of one of the reasons I like Kentucky now, because it's actually a good blend of both. It's a very, in a lot of ways, a Midwestern state, but it's kind of Southern sometimes,
Right.
depending on who you talk to.
No, I understand. I know. I used to live in Florida, so I sort of get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you want to see Southern hospitality and everything else that is a caricature of Southern life, it's there, but you got to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna be in downtown Miami, but go about 10 miles this way, you'll see all sorts of shacks and all sorts of other things. But and good fried chicken. So
Oh, nice. I do love a good fried chicken.
I'm aware. And oddly enough, Jumi's Home Cooking has vegan fried chicken.
I'm gonna have to try.
They put a wooden stick in the bone. They did it before KFC. Now, because I didn't really, as I said, Siri 1.0, I'm not terribly familiar with, but apparently you very busty, very curvy, even then on the verge, on the cusp of BBW, but not quite.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of describing my Siri 1.0 phase. Yeah. When I first started in porn, my bra size was like 32 double H.
Double H.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was also before I got into powerlifting. So just because of having a different lifestyle and not being as, it's like I was like into fitness, but it wasn't like necessarily a hobby on that level back then. Like I would go and I would like do random little weights or like do some cardio. It wasn't like a huge part of my life the way that it is now. So I looked really different. I was definitely heavier, like weight distributed differently.
Very, very hourglass, or?
Yeah, definitely hourglass. I still have an hourglass shape, but obviously I'm assuming what you're poking toward here is my 2.0 evolution.
I like what you have going now. I like your body now. I didn't want to dwell on it, but you did get a breast reduction and 232 double D.
Triple D. I mean, but honestly, there's not a huge difference between a double D and a triple D when it comes down to it. Like,
so you reduce your breast to triple D, and there's been an outcry on the internet about it. I can't believe it. Who complains
I just ignore them. I think
breasts?
It's silly.
Who complains about double D breasts?
I am legitimately entertained by comments online from like, because they're everywhere I go, every time I post anything. If you look at my Instagram, like everything I post on Instagram, I get at least a couple dozen comments out of 300 or something of dudes being like, oh, why did you go and slap God in the face by doing this? And they're like, I hate your small tits, they're so small now. And I'm just like, in what universe is a triple D small tits? Like,
not my universe.
It doesn't offend me. Sometimes it's a nuisance. Like, it's just kind of annoying to like see it sometimes, but it's definitely not offensive. I think it's kind of fucking funny. it just seems like, wow, some of these people are like so out of touch.
There's a lot of what's the, oh, it hurts your back, boo hoo. Meanwhile, you're a power lifter and could kick their ass. I'm sure you could
Oh,
definitely
absolutely.
deadlift
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which in part I owe to having that surgery done, because it's not like I couldn't have power lifted the way I do now before having breast reduction surgery. It's just that, like, mentally, my giant boobs put me in a weird headspace a lot of the time when I was at the gym, where like I couldn't get physically comfortable enough to do something like deadlift 250 pounds, like,
right.
because boobs, like, literally, if you think about the way a deadlift works, your arms come out and in front of you,
Right.
and you're pulling something up, and my boobs are so big that they would like encroach into my armpit area, so I'd feel like my
Right.
arm like brushing against, and it was like incredibly uncomfortable, and I don't have to deal with like that anymore. So there's all kinds of like tiny
Yeah.
details that make my life better.
You need to concentrate and keep your grip, and if you're brushing against your boobs, then I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, but I mean, these guys, I'm assuming they're mostly guys. I can't.
Oh yeah,
think of,
it's always men. I've literally never had a single woman ever be like, I don't understand why you did that. You looked so much better before. Like, never, ever, not a single woman.
because they have breasts, they understand.
Exactly.
But I mean,
And I think all women have, especially and like women who have any internet presence, have probably had the experience of having some dude like tell them their unsolicited opinion. So I just think there's more of a spirit of women, like, the way that they are toward me is like, I got your back, as opposed to they don't care what I do with my own body.
I'm not sure what there is to gain by commenting on it.
Attention
what do
from
you gotta do?
me, I guess. Like,
Yes.
that's kind of what I assume when I see guys commenting. I'm like, they just want my attention. Like,
At Jackoff Guy, you're right. I'm gonna go back and get him put back in.
right. Like, some of these dudes think that, and it's like, you don't understand. Like, the complaining is so stupid and futile. Like, there's obviously no going backward, and even if I did get struck by some wild hair that I wanted to have giant boobs again and go get like implants, it would be completely different than it was when I had natural boobs that were much larger. So like, I don't understand what any of these guys are getting at. It's just,
Well, take it from me.
I don't know. They're just
I
like
have,
beating a very dead horse, and I think it's funny, and
Yeah.
they're wasting their time.
well, take it from me, and I have some experience in this area. Double D's are plenty.
Exactly. More than a handful.
But definitely, and so
Yeah.
But just for the record, the tattoos that you have under your breasts,
Mhm.
you didn't get those to cover scars, or did you?
No, they don't even cover the scars. They come kind of close to it, but I deliberated a lot over whether, like, I wanted to get that piece, because I always wanted an underboob, a Rihanna tattoo is like what I thought about it, because I was like, really liked her look with that cool like Egyptian bird thing she's got going on. So like, obviously that's not what I got. It's something great, but I just like the idea of the underboob tattoo that's like coming in very close to like the shape of the underneath the breast. So I wanted to get it, but then I was like, well, what if people think I'm trying to cover the scars? Like, what if that looks weird? What if it just looks bad next to the scars? Like, there's too much going on. But ultimately, I just kind of decided, like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it because I want this so bad. And I love the way it turned out. And dear God, it was the most painful thing I have ever put myself through in my entire life. I think the whole thing was like 9 hours of work, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it was that much. I'm trying to remember. I sat for 2 sessions, and I feel like each session was a minimum of 2 hours. So whatever it was, I was like almost fainting the whole time. It was awful.
Right. I'm glad you got through it. So you did it all in one session?
2 sessions.
2 sessions.
I wanted to try to do it in one, but I literally couldn't sit for it that long because it was so painful.
I can imagine.
I was like in cold sweats, like, oh.
It's like your
like hyperventilating.
solar plexus that they're jabbing at.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Anyway, so you went through it. I think it looks great. And
thank you.
Now, I was gonna get into why you retired in the first place. So, but anyway, you go into porn. You move to LA. You get an agent. You go into porn, and you really became quite a sensation, from what I understand. I mean, and very much different from a lot of the typical porn look. You were curvier than
Yeah.
most of the porn stars, yet not BBW, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah. So what I think it's kind of cool because when I first got started in porn, the term, at least not in mainstream porn, I didn't really see there being much space for like thick girls.
Pog
It wasn't a
thing.
term. Yeah, well, Pog was a thing because Alexis Texas, but Pog referred to like an otherwise like athletic or slim woman who had a big booty, right? And like I didn't fit that either. So there was kind of this like there wasn't really a category for performers like me back then. And I don't know, I like to think that maybe I helped sort of try to create more space for that. But I spent a lot of time early on in my career like fighting against being labeled as a BBW performer, not because I had a problem with that, but because I felt like BBW performers have done a lot of work to create this niche where they're getting respect for like having a unique and specific body type, and like that's their market and they serve fans of their market. And I was like, I'm not like, I don't fall within that enough to be called like, you know, I don't know if I'm communicating that well, but like well, I wore like a size 12, right? Okay. Which is average for an American woman. So I was like larger than your average porn star, but I don't know. I just felt like
you were in between. You were a tweener. You were right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's how I felt. I was like, don't put me on BBW stuff, because then like it's going to detract from these other performers that have worked really hard to get where they are. And like, I'm not trying to like steal their thunder. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Can't I just be categorized with like other mainstream performers?
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time like trying to argue for that, for like just, I mean, the best thing ultimately would just be like not pigeonholing women into these like labels at all. That would be great. But like, I mean, we have to be realistic, and like that's not really the way that the porn industry is structured. So people got to have their keywords to find what they want.
Don't really pigeonhole guys. I mean,
what was that?
You don't really pigeonhole guys, except I guess by race or whatever, or age.
Yeah, not in straight porn, at least. I mean, like, there's definitely more of that happening in like gay industry that I see, at least. I'm not, I don't have enough information to speak like definitively on it, but I definitely see there being similar issues with like labeling performers only with certain like body types. But in like mainstream straight porn, yeah, you don't really see anyone seemingly caring that much about labeling the male performers. It just doesn't happen as much.
So you were a Torrid, not a Lane Bryant, basically.
Yeah.
I think
that's kind of a funny way of putting it.
Yeah, so which is fine. And you I mean, you were nominated for AVN awards. You were pretty pretty high up there.
Yeah, I was nominated for best newcomer in 2013 and like best porn star website in 2014. And then all like other non-AVN award things that I was nominated for and won around that time as well. And
so you were so it was what, 2-3 years you were burning bright, and what happened?
It was about 3 years.
Why the hiatus?
Yeah. Well, like it's like what I never talked about when I was performing back then was like, especially just that last year before I retired. So pretty much the whole year of 2014 up until I left, it was like I was probably the most depressed I'd ever been in my life, and it got really bad. Like there were points where I felt suicidal. It was tough, and it's not the first time that I'd ever experienced depression. Like it runs in my family. Like I struggled with that when I was a teenager. It's just kind of always been in the background of my life to some degree, but it was really exacerbated by like I was in a relationship back then. I was actually married, and that relationship was not great for my mental health. My partner was sort of manipulative, and very emotionally draining. And then it just was like the cherry on top that my family really did not approve of my career choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically didn't talk to my parents for the whole time that I like for 3 years almost. So it's kind of like I didn't really have a good support network to deal with all of the shit that was being dumped on me. And then any sex workers, honestly, were so stigmatized. Like,
Right.
it makes it very hard to feel like. Finally, what happened is that like in 2014, I was finally like, I got to start seeing a therapist. And I was lucky enough to find a therapist who was like totally fine with what I did for a living and never criticized me for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a very long time of seeing her before I finally ever like admitted that I was depressed. But it kind of just led me down a road of thinking about how I needed to fix my life so I could be happier. And the things that I identified were that I needed to rebuild my relationship with my family and I needed to dump my ex. And the only way to really do those two things was to also leave porn as I did them, because I needed to like kind of start fresh in a way.
So how did you cope, on set with all of this going on? I mean, how did you perform? How did you perform sexually with all this
That
going
was
on?
the easy part, dude. Like because I was so my ex, like I mentioned, you know, the manipulation and how unhappy I was in that relationship.
Right.
And he wasn't in the industry. I wasn't a performer or anything like that. So like really the only time that he was also like super codependent, like, which is I don't like that. I'm an extremely independent person, and I don't like to be in a romantic relationship where I'm like seeing someone every second of every day. I feel suffocated. But that's how it was with him. So I loved going to set. That was like the only time I didn't feel depressed for a while, because I was like, God, yes, I get to go like release all this pent up energy and like be myself and be social with other people and not be cooped up in a house with this one fucking person that I see every second of every day.
I get to fuck somebody else.
Exactly. So like the performing was the best part. It was truly like having like a little bit of a mental reprieve from all the other things in my life that were seemed to be falling apart.
Now, was he the one that got you into porn? Because I know I've heard this
No.
story.
No, what's weird is there's been rumors about that, like that whole situation. I think it was because the way I left, I just literally disappeared and like never said anything. And like maybe that wasn't the best strategy, because in the void or like the vacuum of no information at all, people started coming up with their own theories about what was going on and why I left. And a lot of those theories that people came up with were like, oh, her ex was controlling her life and telling her what she was allowed to do. And like, no, it was never like that. Like there's a lot more nuance than that. I think
Sure.
people want like this easy explanation, but like, it's just like, I was in a relationship, I was married to someone that I didn't even really love. Like, I was very young. I was 23 when I met him, and it was kind of stupid that I ever got involved on that level. And like, you know, 3 years in and like having a successful porn career, I kind of started to realize like I shouldn't be with this person, but now our lives are so intertwined. I don't know how to like get out of it.
Right. So,
but he never controlled my career. Like it wasn't his idea for me to, it was my idea to do porn. I actually convinced him to move to LA with me.
I'm sure we were dragging him, kicking and screaming. But
yeah, he was very gung-ho from the second I mentioned it. There was no convincing at all.
no, I get to go to LA and hang out on porn sets. Geez,
Mm-hmm.
if you insist.
Yeah.
But yeah, he. What were the other rumors? Like you got abducted by aliens, or?
Oh God, I saw. Well, of course, I feel like this happens anytime a woman in porn leaves the industry. There's always rumors that I got pregnant, like always, and had a bunch of kids.
Right.
I've seen rumors that I like found Jesus. All of these are so incorrect. It's hilarious.
So that's about last 4 years you're away. And meanwhile, you finished college.
Yeah. So I was like, what's funny is I mean, when I first did porn, like moved out to LA and did porn, I was like 2 semesters away from getting my degree. It was it was like I had less than like 20 credit hours until I had a degree in my hand. And I just was like, I don't care about that anymore. Pivot. Like, but I was also like going to school on student loans that I had taken out and I hadn't started repaying those student loans yet. So like, it didn't actually hit me how fucking dumb it was to just abandon my studies with that little left to actually get the piece of paper. So that was like the first thing I actually did, was like finish my stupid degree, which is still like one of those things that I'm like, ugh, I only like went back and finished it because I felt like, well, I've got $60,000 invested in this education. I may as well just finish it because I was so close. And like, and I never hated college. I just, I think I always kind of knew deep down inside that I didn't want to have like a regular career where I'd have to like work for some corporation at a desk, you know? So it didn't feel super important to have the degree, but.
Yeah, it's less and less important these days. But it's interesting because I was talking to Ella Darling last year, and I've said this about almost everybody.
I love Ella Darling.
I love her too. Most porn stars that I've talked to, and I wouldn't know this until I had the show and actually talked to them, very intelligent and very hardworking.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny that like the stereotype is the opposite.
Yeah, not all.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between someone who does porn or shoots a couple scenes and someone who has longevity in the industry. And it's funny because in porn, like if you're around for like over a year, people start to think of you as a veteran because the turnover rate is so high.
Right.
But even I would say that, yeah, the majority of performers that I know are pretty intelligent people. And this, we're just so stigmatized. It's like people really enjoy assuming less of us because of the profession we're in. But
the portrayal is just just somebody.
Well, it's like that SNL skit, the one I'm talking about, where it's like the former porn stars like Vanna Whiting, they're like trying to sell you like shoes or whatever, and they can't say words correctly and they're slurring all the time.
Right. I got it. I don't think I've seen that one, but I get where
it's an older one. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds funny. Oh, I mean, and some porn acting is bad, but when you talk to people like you, I mean, it's just very, very a lot smarter than most people. I mean, I've regular jobs usually don't have this many bright people.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that, especially having worked regular civilian jobs and worked in an office for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And how was that? Did anybody recognize you or?
At that job, no. I don't think I've seen it. There were some people that I worked with that like knew that I had done porn in the past, but it's because I was close enough with them that they knew me that well. It wasn't because they like recognized me.
Right. And in those 4 years, not only did you get your degree, but you started powerlifting. Honestly, that's what intrigued me about you, because that's you don't powerlifting and porn, you don't see that connection that much, I think.
You don't. I have kind of been rebranding myself as like the powerlifting porn star because I don't really know any other women in porn. There are definitely women in porn who are like buff, but not that. But I don't know what they're doing to get or stay buff necessarily. Like it's not like a huge part of their brand.
Now, why powerlifting and not just straight weightlifting?
Oof. I couldn't do like weightlifting. It gives me anxiety just because I go to a gym where there are a lot of weightlifters and they like work out on the opposite side from so I'll be like over at like the powerlifting area, like squatting or benching something, and I'll look across, I'll see some Olympic weightlifter like doing a snatch and like doing all this crazy shit. They're like jumping around and throwing a barbell up above their head, and I'm just like, oh, that looks like I'm gonna rip my arm out of its socket. No, thank you. It gives me so much anxiety.
This is what happens when I join a gym, but I mean, the first time you started powerlifting, that had to go in your head, though.
No, I think I just kind of. I have a coach now. I started out by just like using resources I found online, and like did online based coaching for a bit before I found a real life coach. But like, so I spent about 2 years noodling around and like kind of having an idea of what I was doing, but really not that much of an idea. And but still building some strength at least, because I was like challenging myself with weights that I lifted. But I would say that I kind of slowly got into powerlifting. It was more that like I knew that I wanted to like have a more toned look. I use quotation marks because I now would never say that word ever. Like I think it's a silly word. But back in like, 2014, I was thinking, I want to look a little more toned. So like start incorporating some strength training into my what were previously just cardio workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly the strength training started to replace any cardio that I did, because I realized that I loved it a lot and I really enjoyed the way I felt during and afterward. And I was never bored with it the way that I was with every type of cardio I've ever done. Like,
right. There's always more weight you can add.
exactly. So I got into powerlifting just because I loved strength training so much that I was like, how do people like do this more? Like what do people do when they get like really into this and they want to like lift heavier weights, and like what does that look like? And before I knew it, I was looking at subreddits that were about women powerlifting and stuff like that. So,
and the physique on a power lifter, this is what's weird about me, because I don't know. Tell me why.
mm-hmm.
Why is it that power lifters they don't have that veiny, muscly, like bodybuilding physique, even though they're lifting
Right.
more weights?
Yeah, I mean, they're lifting more. It's kind of like volume versus, or like, I don't know how to put it. Bodybuilders tend to do a lot more like higher reps, but a little more reasonable or like lower weights. Whereas in powerlifting, the specific goal is to lift something for one rep and get the heaviest weight that you can on the bar and perform that lift successfully with good form.
Right.
So it's, for me, it's powerlifting more than anything is actually like a mental challenge. Like obviously you have to be strong enough to back up the lifts you're attempting, but what I learned very quickly when I got a real powerlifting coach is like, I'm limited mostly by what I think I can do, not by what I'm actually capable of. And the fact that I'm terrible at squats is the perfect example. Considering what I weigh, I should probably be able to squat a hell of a lot more weight than I actually squat. And it's because I am terrified of squats because my legs are so long.
The most epic ass is that squats. I would think.
Yeah, I'm horrified.
That would be your specialty because your legs are thick, your ass is big and muscular.
No, I'm not built for squat at all. Like people, if you look at like competitive powerlifters that hold records and stuff, a lot of the women, especially who have great squat numbers, are pretty short.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because if you think about a squat, it's all,
you don't have as much,
you're moving the weight with your legs, so right. The less distance to travel to getting your knees like parallel is, if you're shorter, it's just easier.
Right.
And my legs are so long, I have the shortest torso ever, that my legs are so long, by the time I get down to the bottom, I'm like, I can't get back up, oh my God. And it's just mentally very scary.
Like dwarves would be great at powerlifting. It was just
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's funny because like I'm great at bench press. Like that's probably my strongest lift. Like I can consider like all else compared.
What do you bench?
The most I've ever benched is about 140 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
I use kilos, so like it's technically like just under 140, but
okay, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
That beats me, I'll tell you that. So, and you've been in competitions too?
Yeah, I've competed a couple times. I haven't like won anything, but that's not the point for me. Like it's just fun.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think it's a good look in that, I once again, I think it's a good, I'm attracted to that look, especially on you, because it's muscular, but it's soft too. There's a softness.
It is. And that's Yeah, no, that's a great way to describe power lifters. Like, and well, I think that's a great opportunity to address like a really common thing, like especially when you talk about like any women who do strength sports, is like, because I see this in comments on my like Instagram when I post powerlifting stuff, is like usually dudes will be like, oh, don't get all bulky and look like a man. And it's like, okay, women's bodies, like hormonally, I'm never gonna like put on that much muscle that I would like look like a bulky man. The only way that I would ever achieve that look is if were specifically trying to achieve that look. I would have to work so hard to look like a bodybuilder. I am far too lazy to ever work that hard. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Well, I would imagine. I would imagine a lot of the people that comment on your pictures, especially maybe old fans, intimidated.
Yeah, I definitely see there's a lot of like insecure male ego floating around in those Instagram comments.
Right. Well, speaking of Instagram too, I had I interviewed Romy Chase a few weeks ago, who was
Mm-hmm.
an Instagram influencer, a plus size Instagram influencer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen her post. She's awesome.
Right. But she says that when she posts pictures on Instagram, like she can't get bikini or lingerie people to sponsor her, because if she puts a bikini picture or lingerie picture, they'll ban it or shadow ban her.
Oh yeah.
But if a skinny girl had the same thing, they've let it pass. Has that been your experience?
100%. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, at this point, it's their Instagram's so heavy on the censorship that, I mean, I definitely think that thinner models probably slide under the radar a little bit more, just because, you know, if you're wearing something like a bikini and you don't have an ass that's like ginormous the way that mine is or Romy Chase's is, like, you're probably less likely to get flagged or reported. But like, even no one's safe these days. Like everyone is getting their shit flagged, removed, or their account completely deleted, and it's pretty awful.
So you do think there's a bias against larger women?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I do. I think I don't think anyone could really deny that at this point.
That's ridiculous.
It's annoying.
Yeah, I don't get it. Who might say so? So you've redone your body. You dyed your hair red. Now, tell us the story behind that.
Well, so I had red hair, like when there's been a lot of iterations of Siri throughout the porn career, but I debuted with like that platinum blonde bob that I look back on that still to this day and I'm like, God, I look like a fucking, someone's like 45-year-old mom. Like, I don't know why I ever thought that was a good look for me. That's my personal, I know a lot of fans love it and they'll like cry if they hear me say that, but I didn't like it.
Like sort of hair.
What was that?
Like anchor woman sort of hair?
Yeah, kinda. That's what I see when I look at it now. Like, it's honestly what it was is that I had a pixie cut. Like I had like very short, almost shaved hair. Okay. And I was just growing it out and I was trying to grow it out. So it was that awkward grow out phase where it was like chin length, but it was still like platinum, like bleach blonde. And like, it just made me look so much more mature than I was. Like I was 24, but it made me look like at least over 30, you know?
Right.
So after a couple months in porn, I realized like, this look is terrible. I'm not on board with it. Like what it was is that on my first several shoots, I kept going to porn sets and they'd want to style my hair like Marilyn Monroe. Aww. Because it was short and blonde and I fucking hated it. Like I was like, I hate that look. I'm not a fan at all, even remotely. And they keep wanting to do this to me and I need to do something to ruin my hair so they'll stop curling it like Marilyn Monroe. And I went to the farthest extreme I could think of, which was to dye my head like bright fire engine red. Like, I'm going to reference Rihanna again. Apparently I really love her, but she had that same hair color at around that time. So I did that like crazy bright unnatural red. Right. And I had that for almost a year until it was so high maintenance. Like everything I touched turned fucking magenta basically because the dye would bleed out of my hair constantly. Right. So eventually I was like, okay, let's tone it down to something that's like slightly more natural red. And that's how we got to where I am today.
Yeah. So you redo the look, you get a new muscular body, and you decide to come back. Mm-hmm. Why?
I missed it, dude. Like I was away for 5 years and during the time that I was away, a lot happened. Like, you know, went back to school, worked several weird jobs. It was kind of fun being like going back to complete civilian status. Like,
Right.
you know, I rarely ever got recognized, like ever, when I was retired. So it was great, but also I felt like I always kind of was annoyed by how people would like find out that I used to do porn, and then they would have this like attitude like, oh, you poor thing, I'm so thankful that you got saved from that horrible life of debauchery.
Right.
Like
Well,
they would
little do
assume
they
that
know.
I left porn because it was bad for me, and I was like, you don't get it. Like, I didn't leave porn because I ever had a problem with porn. I left porn because everyone else had a problem with porn, and I couldn't figure out how to reconcile it.
Have you always been hypersexual, or?
No, oh, I don't know how to. That's a weird question to answer. Like, yes, but no. Like, I have always, even ever since like even a young age, I've been a curious person about everything, including also things related to sex.
Right.
But I was a late bloomer. Like, I didn't have any boyfriends in high school. I didn't go on any dates. I think my first kiss was like after I was 16. I didn't have sex for the first time until I was almost 19.
Wow. Every beautiful woman does that. The guys wouldn't touch them in high school. They were ugly, and I don't believe it, but
Yeah, it's kind of common. Like, to be honest, I just didn't care. Like, I was curious about sex and everything, but I just didn't feel like in a rush to do that stuff.
Mhm.
And also I just feel like I never liked anyone enough to,
Okay, fair enough.
you know, I don't know. There was a couple other things going on. I was kind of awkward in high school as well, so that fed into it. But mainly I just was like, I just didn't feel like I needed to actually explore the things that I was interested in. What I did spend a lot of time doing at that age, I remember, is like just like reading about sexuality and reading about sex and what people do. And I masturbated a little bit as a teenager, but not like a ton. But I would read about how other people masturbated. Like, I was like doing my research.
Well, yeah. Well, and as you know now, it's even worse than you thought. People are
Yeah.
jerking off to you all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So yeah, I've always, in that sense, like I've always felt a pretty strong drive to understand my sexuality. And I think that is one of the biggest things that probably led me into porn, is just having this like very strong desire to really self-actualize my sexual spirit person living inside my meat bag.
your meat bag.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you while you were on hiatus, were the companies still in contact with you, wanting you to do scenes like browsers and people like that? Or?
No, I made it impossible for anyone to contact me. I fell off the face of the planet. Now I did have, because I had a website back when I retired, or before I retired, that was run by VNA, like Vicky Vet, her network of sites. So like, I know that there were people who like would contact my former webmaster and like try to have them put them in contact with me, but I told them, I was like, don't forward me anything, like I'm done.
Right. And then and what prompted you to come back?
It was kind of doing my podcast, actually. It was because so I'd been away for over 3 years. It was the summer of 2018. That's when I decided that I wanted to start making a podcast. And originally my idea was that I would just talk about anonymously. Like I didn't reveal my stage name or who I was in porn.
Right.
And I started doing a podcast, and I would just tell stories about my experiences in porn. And I would tell stories about my experiences being retired and how it affected like going back to civilian life and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for a really long time, the only people who listened to the podcast were like close personal friends, some family members, like people that I thought might be interested in listening to like me talk about those things in a more like uncensored way, because I know a lot of people were curious.
Right.
So eventually my good friend Rachel joined the podcast as a co-host, and then we started like having a little more fun with it, and it started to be less depressing and me talking about sad things and more about, because the first couple episodes are really depressing. If anyone's listening to this and they try to find it, you can't listen to the first, like,
right.
I think it's the first 8 episodes I've taken off, and that's
Okay.
intentional. Like, I don't want people to hear them anymore. Like, for me, almost doing those first episodes was like a form of therapy. It was like I wanted to get all that shit off my chest.
Yeah.
I got it off. It was out there for like a year. So anyway, after I had been doing the podcast for 1 year, so the summer of 2019 was when I started to have the realization, like, I've been doing this podcast for a year. We have a good number of listeners. People really enjoy hearing me talk about this. And I kind of started to tiptoe around the idea that I might want to do some work in porn again. And that summer I made like an OnlyFans. I started doing premium Snapchat content. And I was absolutely amazed that I had a gigantic and very rabid fan base that had never stopped posting my content and like loving it.
Wow.
Like, I found I had a subreddit that had 50,000 subscribers still.
Wow.
That was just devoted to me. And that was like, whoa, okay. Like, so clearly if I want to go back into porn, I will probably be welcome. So yeah, it was kind of just like through doing the podcast, I got comfortable talking about all this stuff again. And I also just felt like it was safer to be open about the fact that I missed doing porn, and that made me feel comfortable deciding that I wanted to actually fully like unretire.
Right. And, you know, OnlyFans and Snapchat, that wasn't around. And I mean, I guess
Yeah.
Snapchat
was, yeah, the app Snapchat existed, but people like sex workers weren't really like finding ways to monetize Snapchat up until like, I remember the very first thing that was like monetizing Snapchat for porn stars was called Snap Girls. And that launched like right before I left the porn industry. Right. And they ended up getting like smacked with some big lawsuit, I think, if I remember correctly. But like Snapchat wasn't really a big thing yet. So I really missed the Snapchat heyday. And I had no idea what OnlyFans was until the summer of 2019.
You saw how many fans you have.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, it's kind of funny because, you know, I definitely could have been like retired-ish, but like still, you know, made content for my fan base for all that time. But I was so intent on being completely like away from the industry that I truly didn't pay attention to what was going on. Like all the changes in those 5 years, I had no clue.
And you come back, you announce it January, you do scenes, and then COVID happens. So good timing.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I got in a good like 5 scenes before COVID happened.
Right. So great timing. But and you added the last name Dahl. I'm assuming from Roald Dahl, which his books aren't audible too, but right?
It's not actually. I mean, in a way, like it has nothing to do with Roald Dahl, but it's just another like Scandinavian name. And Roald Dahl he has Scandinavian ancestry too, so in that sense, it is like similar. But I really liked the way it sounded. I wanted a 1 syllable, something that worked well with Siri. And mainly though, I just like the puns that I can make. Like, you know, I have the domain fuckdoll.com.
Right. Yeah, because okay. Are you Scandinavian? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my ancestry, like going back to my great grandparents, they were from Sweden and Norway.
Yeah. So no, it's I was gonna say the Roald Dahl thing, you know, I know the anti-Semitism thing's going up, so
yeah, well that's why people ask, and I'm like, no.
Right.
Like,
he's the most famous doll, but he's not the only doll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and boy, oh boy, it's already been an hour. We've been talking. We can talk forever.
Oh.
How was just let me if I can sneak in another 5-10 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So your first scene back, how nerve-wracking was that?
It was fantastic. I mean, I was nervous, but my first scene back was a threesome that I did for Brazzers with Kieran Lee and Angela White, and I cannot imagine like a better welcome back. Honestly, it was really, really fun. And it was also kind of like jumping head first right back in.
I know that's a
and
pretty
it was a little bit
company.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it felt like I hadn't skipped a beat. Like, you know, the sex part, filming the actual film, was, I was like, okay, this is sex. Like, nothing here is different. But dude, like doing the photo shoot, or like, you know, we call them pretty girls, where you're like just doing your like lingerie photos before the scene. Right. That was the hardest part, because I hadn't modeled at all in those 5 years. I hadn't, you know, I'll take selfies, of course, but I hadn't like done a professional modeling setup where I'm posing my body in a certain way, and posing is actual work, and like you have to be aware of your surroundings and everything. And I had to kind of remember those things.
Another thing people don't know, but people don't really think about, but yeah, it is. Yeah. And I guess I had to remind you how to, you know, show yourself off the best way. And
yeah. I remember, but that's why I'm glad that it was with that crew, because like Kieran Lee he's an industry veteran for real. He's been around for so long, and he's so he directed and he was the director for the scene, but also the male talent, and he's incredibly particular. Like, he's very specific about what shooting stills, and like he was standing off to the side and he'd be like, "You have one single piece of hair that's touching your eyelash." Like, it was like, he's definitely a perfectionist. So I was actually really glad that was my first scene back, because I think it was the best possible outcome, because he was so on point with everything. and he did want to make me look as good as possible, and like I'm very thankful for that. So,
and that's talent. I mean, it's one thing for like George Clooney to direct and act in a movie, but to direct, act, and maintain an erection.
Yeah.
Get an erection
all while being stressed out about the fact that like it's insanely stressful to be a producer. And yeah,
you're checking the lights, you're making sure you got the right lens and the whole thing, and it's like, all right, now I gotta get a boner. I mean, that's, I gotta talk to him. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's commendable work. I feel like probably most male performers don't really get enough kudos for how hard their job is, and I am not making a boner pun, but
yeah, I was gonna say no pun intended, but the thing is about male porn stars. I mean, I guess the thing about male porn stars is not how great you can fuck, or even, you know, how hard your dick is, how long your dick is. It's that you can do,
or even necessarily the size. Like,
well,
it's more about how you perform. The size matters, yes. I mean, like, but like there are plenty of performers who have average size dicks who are successful because they're just fantastic performers. Yeah,
hard on cue, and they can come on cue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, what's an average size dick to you?
5.5 inches.
Really?
I mean, statistically, that is literally the average in the U.S. So
okay. Yep. So there are porn stars with 5.5 inch dicks?
Yeah, there's a couple. Right. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the majority, but they exist, and there are very successful men who have dicks that are about that size.
All right, great, good for them. But so, and how I mean, you get this whole comeback revved up. You're going to AVN. You got this all this stuff, and then COVID hits, and it's just like it could be worse. I mean, it could be back in the day where you didn't have OnlyFans, you didn't have Snapchat, you didn't have other content out.
Yeah, OnlyFans has been such a lifesaver with the pandemic, like, and even the fact that I don't even live in Los Angeles and I still make a living in this industry is owed mostly to OnlyFans existing. But it's definitely made it easier for performers to be independent and put their own needs first, you know, and not have to like sacrifice in order to shoot for other companies.
Yeah, because I was watching, and I know you did this for a company, and we were talking about this. I did the one thing of yours that I did watch was the nude yoga.
Yeah,
which two things that really they go together. I mean, yoga and nudity, and it leads me to
made for each other.
Well, it's made for each other, and then I was actually following along because I was doing it along with you, and then when you got the vibrator out, I had to stop, but. Yeah, because mine was in the drawer. But Would you ever think of doing a nude powerlifting video?
God, yeah. So, well, I've technically done one. Like, I did a scene, or well, a clip, really. It's like a 12-minute clip that I did that is available on my OnlyFans, and it is, I bought so I sort of like, it's hard now because of the pandemic, but like I rent a spot out in LA as well as my home here in Kentucky. So that's because when I do go to LA for shoots and stuff, then I have a permanent residence out there.
Mm-hmm.
But gyms out there being closed completely, it makes it very hard to stick to my powerlifting programming when I'm traveling.
Right.
So I bought a squat rack.
Oh, okay.
To put in my house in Los Angeles, and I needed to break in that squat rack. So Robbie Echo, who's a male performer and a close friend of mine, was kind enough to have sex with me on my squat rack.
That's very nice.
It's a squat / bench, like a combo rack. So
oh, nice.
So that was the closest I've come to doing just a pure naked powerlifting. But of course, like when I'm training at my gym, like it would be very inappropriate for me to do something naked there. As much as I would love to, I have a feeling that I'd be run out of town.
Right. Yeah,
I've thought about going there literally in the middle of the night when I'm the only person, but there are still security cameras. I'm like,
I would think, yeah. And then, it's kind of, I don't know. The barbell would be touching skin. It'd be a weird thing, yeah.
So just because of the whole thing with like having the place out in LA, I did, aside from like having sex on the bench, I did just try doing like completely naked bench press, and it was nice. It wasn't as bad as I thought.
Well, maybe that's the way of the future.
New
powerlifting. And I have to ask this of everybody, all the adult film stars. What is the weirdest, craziest, funniest thing that's ever happened to you on set?
God, I feel like I at once have probably too many stories, but like they're cataloged so deep in my mind, I can't really think of any like good ones off the top of my head.
It involves anal sex, but if that's I mean, right now.
Well, I mean, just the last time that I shot, like one of the last anal scenes I shot was for a website, Perv City, and the male talent was Sterling Cooper, and like, he was taking a little longer than normal to come. He admitted that himself. He was like, usually it doesn't take me this long. Like, I'm just overwhelmed. But I think the reason why was like, there were these Swedish journalists in LA, like they were like filming a documentary about how COVID is impacting all these industries across the US. And they were, part of their documentary was they were talking to people in porn.
Right.
So there were fucking journalists, like these documentarians from Sweden. And I mean, if you picture two, like it was a man and a woman. If you picture two Swedes, it is exactly the stereotype that your brain comes up with.
Right.
Exactly. Like two blonde, tall, like beautiful, like people who talk like this. Like it was great. Yeah. And they were very kind. Like, yeah, they were very kind, and it was really cool getting to talk to them.
To come, I don't know.
But they were on set the whole day that we were filming that anal scene, and I remember at one point when we were like getting to the cum shot, they were literally just sitting in the corner, like,
yeah.
And I think that's why. So that was probably the weirdest thing in my recent memory, was just this poor Sterling Cooper just being like, I would totally come if these Swedish journalists would just leave the room for 5 minutes. And finally, eventually, we were like, can you guys leave? And then they did, and it was fine.
And quit talking about COVID while you're doing a scene, while you're talking.
Oof, yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, Siri, you are a delight.
Oh, thank you.
There's so much more to you. I hope you come back, and I hope you win. I encourage everybody to go to AVN, and I did.
Oh, please vote for me.
Vote for you for most epic ass. Favorite female
can I interrupt real quick? I've made it easy. I've made it very easy to vote for me. I actually have a forwarding, like a website set up. If you just go to voteforsiri.com, all the links are boom right there.
Voteforsiri.com, and also vote for our friend Alexis Allure for favorite BBW star.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So so the rest of the time is yours. Plug away. Tell them everything you got going on, all your websites and everything, Siri.
Sweet, thanks. So I'll leave with my OnlyFans since we mentioned that a couple times.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Don't Google Siri.
Yeah. Don't Google me.
Yeah.
Google Siri Dahl, Dahl.
Sorry to interrupt.
But yeah, I've got a whole bunch of links. I'll just start with my OnlyFans. For anyone who's interested in that, is SiriFanclub.com. My website, that's kind of an aggregate of all my links, and I have a merch store on the site as well, is SiriDahl.com. And then if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter, I'm The Real Siri PS, and on Instagram, I'm The Real Siri .ps. And I'm shadow banned on both, which means you have to type in the full username and then hit enter in order to find me.
PS for porn star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is there something else that I'm not aware
of? Well, my inside joke is that it stands for pizza slut and not porn star, because I love pizza. I'm a slut for pizza.
Every word out of your mouth, I fall in love with you even more. And so, yes, so follow Siri Dahl on all social media. And if pizzaslut.com isn't taken, I'm sure she'll take that.
Oh, I'm certain someone else has it. Yeah. Although I do own bigbutt.guru, because .guru is a domain suffix you can buy. I own bigbutt.guru, and I own analsex.guru. Yeah.
You love anal sex?
I do indeed.
I've never had it. What's so great about it?
Oh my God, you're missing out. I mean, I don't know what it feels like to be a penetrator of someone's butthole, but like, I know as the receiver of someone putting it in my butthole, it feels fantastic. There's a whole bunch of nerve endings inside there. It's great. Best orgasms ever.
Better than the vagina?
Yes, 100%.
All right, well, I'll get on it then.
There are times I'll have sex with my partner where like, because he shoots a lot of, like I shoot scenes with him and stuff. He's not like a porn star by trade, but you know, he obliges me when I ask, so that's really nice of him.
Once again, what a guy.
I know, he's so self-sacrificing. It's really kind that he does his best to put up with me. But there are definitely times when I'll be like, you know, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to put it in my butt. Like, I'm having a really hard time getting to an orgasm here, and I know that the second you put it in my butt, it's gonna happen within about 10 seconds. Because it's that good. Yeah.
I'll look into it. It sounds like something.
Analsex.guru.
Analsex.guru. I'm gonna go to that right now, and go to Goth Comedian on all social media. And everybody have a wonderfully creepy week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.